their vision, their complete badassery, full on. Thanks to them, we are here in the world that we live in today. And as we have this conversation, we have two pioneers of our own right here. We are so fortunate to have two of Vanderbilt's incredible, finest, stunningly attired,
handsome. I'm sorry. Just go.
Two of our wonderful alums. Let me introduce you very quickly. We have Judge Crenshaw here, who is an absolute wonder. He's a legend on the bar and the bar when he was practicing in employment. He's a legend on the bench, and he is someone who has himself the first black partner at Waller, I believe, and also I think the first black member of the Bellmead Country Club, right? So Judge Crenshaw, right here, a truly incredible. And then we have our CEO and managing partner of Built in Somewhere right here, Mr. Dotson, who is just a phenomenal force of nature. He has built a career building things. He has literally built economies. He has built worlds. He has built bridges, roads, trains, you name it. He has made it happen. Now, Florida is well known for hurricanes. This here is the biggest and baddest and most awesome hurricane.
Can I take you home with me?
Let's go.
You paid her well.
Exactly.
And I'd like to introduce our compere for the show, our host for the show, Alexis. Thanks to Alexis, we're all here, and Kyle, who have made all of this happen today. Thank you to both of you for bringing this event together. Alexis is, as we all know, just a phenomenal, brilliant leading light here. So,
well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexis Shaw, and I am this year's Black History Month chair. So on behalf of the Black Law Students Association, welcome, and thank you for joining us as we commemorate the 70th anniversary of the integration of the law school. 70 years ago, in 1956, Vanderbilt admitted its first Black law students. To understand the significance of that moment, we have to understand the time in which they were living in. In 1956, the South was not embracing integration, it was resisting it. Brown versus Board of Education had been decided just 2 years earlier, and Southern leaders were organizing what became known as massive resistance. The Montgomery bus boycott was underway, and just 1 year earlier, 14-year-old Emmett Till had been brutally murdered in Mississippi. Jim Crow was not fading, it was being fiercely defended. And here in Nashville, segregation was still the law of daily life. In that climate, Edward Melvin Porter and Frederick Taylor Work entered Vanderbilt Law School in 1956. They would graduate in 1959, earning their degrees at a time when the South was actively working to prevent desegregation in schools, courtrooms, and public life. There were no diversity offices, no affinity organizations. Only their resolve remained. Then in 1961, Janie Greenwood Harris entered this law school, becoming the first Black woman to do so. She began her legal education before the 1964 Civil Rights Act existed and graduated in 1964, the same year it became law. She navigated not only racial exclusion, but gender exclusion in a profession overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly male. These were not symbolic firsts. These were courageous commitments to endure. And today, 70 years later, we gather not just to remember that history, but to recognize that we are living in the institutional space their perseverance made possible. 70 years ago, they walked into classrooms where they did not yet belong. Today, Black students at Vanderbilt Law School lead organizations, they clerk for federal judges, and they help shape national conversations. That arc from isolation to influence and admission to leadership did not happen by accident. It was built on sacrifice and because someone paid the price of enduring the obstacles of being the first. So this afternoon, we do not simply mark an anniversary, we honor courage. We acknowledge progress, and we recommit ourselves to ensuring that the doors that they walk through remain open and wider for those who follow. So thank you for being here for this momentous occasion, and I would be remiss if I did not thank our Balsa president, Kyle Smith. Kyle, thank you for your leadership and your vision. It has been an absolute pleasure to collaborate with you in executing this month and the events we have planned. Thank you for everything you do and for representing and leading this organization with such integrity and passion and devotion. And I would also like to note that if you joined us today, please join us next week and invite some friends. We have 2 additional Black History Month events next week. On Tuesday during the lunch hour, we will welcome State Representative Justin Pearson. And on Thursday, our keynote speaker, Kristen Clark, former Assistant Attorney General of the Civil Rights Division of the United States Department of Justice, will join us. So we invite all of you to attend and continue commemorating this historic month with us. Thank you. Okay, everyone, so thank you. So to begin, I'd love to ask Judge Crenshaw and Mr. Al Dotson to reflect on your time here at Vanderbilt Law School. And when you reflect on your time here, what moments or experiences most shaped how you understood your role in the legal profession as a Black law student?
You're looking at me, but you said Judge Crenshaw's
Well,
name
I'm looking
first.
at both.
How would you like for us to proceed?
I think either one, whoever wants to take
You're
it
looking at
first.
him.
Okay, well, I looked at you, so you're first.
So I'm actually going to pick up. I'm not going to stand and walk, but I may do that in a moment. But I thought that energy is absolutely amazing. One of the things we did not have at that time, from 1984 to 87, was the level of energy that you just brought to this introduction. I want to thank you for your participation. And handsome, right? Got it.
Lord, have mercy.
Yeah, and also I want to thank Balsa for putting this together. Too often, especially in these times, we cower and fail to share the important components of who we are as a people and our contributions to the law. So I really appreciate that. Third, I want to go back to a comment that you made, then I'll answer your question. I'm a lawyer, so it's going to take me a minute.
There you go. The floor is yours.
You started talking about the pioneers and what they did. And you mentioned Emmett Till, but not Trayvon Martin. You mentioned Emmett Till, but not George Floyd. You mentioned Jim Crow, but not what's taking place today. And I think one of the things that I learned when I was here, there were 4 Black students in my class. And I realized very quickly that that law was about the history of our country and how, in many instances, especially in common law classes, our enslaved Black people and those who went through Jim Crow Reconstruction thereafter, and how the law changed, supported how we were treated, confirmed for all that we should be treated that way, and eventually lawyers like the people who walked through these halls said that is not right and began to challenge the law. And that's what I learned as I sat in some of these rooms, hoping not to be called upon by the professors. And we had at that time a professor who was Black, Robert Belton, who was extraordinarily supportive of us. And I was the president of BOSA my second year, and I'm going to close with this. And I watched as we tried to do programming like this. It was very supported by the dean, by the university, and by all the students. And that made my being here at Vanderbilt Law School such a great experience. I'm going to add to that later, but I'm going to pause and let the judge take it from here.
Well, let me add my thanks and appreciation for being invited. I'm glad, too, to know that Vanderbilt is doing a celebration of Black History Month, and I was only too happy. We usually have a judges' lunch at noon on Wednesdays to let them know that this is going on, and I think they kind of want to come, so I'm gonna pass it on to them for next week. I'll go to your question because you shared earlier that the first 2 students here, Mr. Work and Joyner, had a class of 2. Al, you were the class of what?
4.
4 in what year?
1984.
In 1984, and I was the class of 81 with 3. So I think that's for discussion later. I'm a little concerned about the progress or lack thereof. In our class of 3, we kind of turned out okay. One's a federal magistrate judge in Little Rock. The other one is on the executive leadership team at the University of Penn, and thanks to President Obama, I'm doing okay. But what do I remember from, what did Vanderbilt prepare me for? And I would share with you all, I really would thank those people who were not kind, those who engaged in their own slights and insults, and all of those, both students and faculty, that made the time here all the more difficult. And the reason is because it prepared me for what was ahead. Back in 1981, there were no integrated law firms. There was no reason for you to send a letter, we didn't have email, of interest because it was kind of understood. But Vanderbilt prepared us for that, and as a result, many of you are reaping the rewards of that progress. I think we'll talk later about whether there's been enough progress. It has not. But nevertheless, the time at Vanderbilt, for me, was good in that it gave me an insight to what the profession would be like and some of the obstacles that I had to maneuver and navigate there. I knew how to do so because of 3 years here.
I love that. That brings me into our next question. Both of you talk about the trials and kind of the tribulations you faced as a student here, but how when you went into practice, those barriers were the same, or in some ways they were different. So when you look back on your time frame and transitioning to practice from here, what were some of those obstacles and barriers like? Because while you're 30 years-ish removed from those pioneers, that's still not that long, and that much progress wasn't made as far as the workforce.
And I'll start that one. One thing that Professor Belton shared with all of us, and Walter Searcy knows this as well, as being a official and unofficial mentor to all the black students, and is making sure that when things got rough and you did not know if you had made a good decision or if this decision is going to be a continuing adventure or not, Belton was the person that at any time you could walk into his office, knock on the door, and talk to him, and he did a great job of making sure that those of us who were questioning our decision stayed in and found out how to make a way to get that degree. I think through Belton, as I recall, I at least began to learn that when the practice of law came around and you entered an office to practice, whatever it may be, Vanderbilt may have prepared you a little bit to look for the written rules to follow, but you really had to have some insight to look for the unwritten rules that exist in any office you will work for, be it small or thousands of lawyers, public practice or private, be it a state office, federal office, or nonprofit. And that's part of learning how to practice law, because in addition to just knowing the law or having some idea of where to find it, you still have to navigate your partners and associates and coworkers at every level. And in that atmosphere, you don't always know what's acceptable and not. And being sensitive to that, at least for me, prevented me from making some mistakes that, you can get over, but you would prefer never to have to deal with it at all. So learning some of those written rules, knowing what all of them are, and especially the unwritten rules, is really important as you're making that transition, and Vanderbilt did a good job preparing for that.
I'll just add to that, so someone that's just walked in the room, and when you talk about transitioning into the law firm and the support you had here, as one of 4, I had someone, like Walter, who was already here. He was a student, and Walter had come to Vanderbilt after already having a career. And so he was much more mature than many of us who were coming out of undergraduate, running around like chickens with our heads cut off. And we had someone who was very calm and cool and focused, on whom we could rely. As a role model to many of us. And we had an opportunity to pay it forward with Denise Bentley sitting behind him, who came after me. I graduated in '87, so I think, Denise, you were there in '86? You were the class of '88. She was there in '86, like I said. Graduated in '87. She hasn't been mentored enough, apparently. But the idea was to pay it forward. And that you carry and must carry, both experiences you have to carry through to the practice of law. I was the first person in my family to go to undergraduate school, graduate. First person in my family for sure to go to law school and graduate. And first person to walk into a law firm where the unwritten rules were much more important than the written rules. And you had very little visibility into that. But I was blessed to have someone who happened to have been a judge, who was black. Name is Henry Latimer, he's now deceased, who, like Professor Belton, took it upon himself to make sure, like Walter Searcy, that those of us who walked through the door had someone they could talk to, someone who would explain to them what the unwritten rules are. And I tell you now, as a managing partner of a law firm, I tell lawyers all the time, you learn how to do some good research in law school. You understand some of the issues in law school, but you know very little about the business of law and what the partners who are sitting behind their desk are looking at, in addition to the good work that you must do and the hours you have to put in. And you need someone to share with you what that looks like, show you what the reports are, so you have an idea of how those who don't work with you and are only looking at reports see you. Because they're the ones who are going to help promote you through the firm or through the company that you work with. So just one tidbit to connect the two conversations is you have to be good at your profession, that's a given, but you have to start asking yourself, what is it that I don't know? What decisions are being made when I'm not in the room with information I don't even know they're collecting? And what makes this business run? And what's my role in getting the business to achieve its overall objectives? And when you start asking those questions and finding the people who can align you with the answers, you're going to position yourself to leverage the great education you get here to become successful in whatever career path you take.
And let me add to that, one of the things that I share with, and I've had graduates who have gotten the opportunity to know and suggest some things, because you can't really tell y'all anything anymore, you have to suggest it. But when you do join that law firm or law office or public, private, whatever it may be, I think it's incumbent on you to reach out and find that person who will share with you the unwritten rules. And I don't know if Vanderbilt's doing a better job of that than it did in the past, but I really encourage people after graduation, I says, no, you need to find out who there is going to take care of you, who there is going to give you some insight to how you're truly doing, who's there going to tell you what's important to the firm and how you fit into the firm. And I've been away from it for almost 10 years, but I think it's almost impossible for a young student to start in an office and not have somebody who's saying, here are the things you should do. But you may not know anyone there. That doesn't mean you can't search them out and find out what's the right fit. I know that at some point during the stay here, you all really like to have coffee about everything. And I suggested to him, then pick out somebody. Mr. Dotson, can we have coffee? And get to know that person, they get to know you, so that you can try to build a relationship and find somebody there who's going to give you some guidance, and then maybe over time, even more guidance, and then eventually maybe make a difference in your career.
Well, I love what you both said about the importance of acclimating to the environment that you're in and seeking out mentors and people who can guide you through this professional journey. What would you both say your experiences were like as far as when you did become in leadership positions and you maybe wrestled with subordinates who were used to a different time and a different place, or they didn't want to, submit to the authority that you had based on the position or the experience? How did you navigate those situations?
I guess it's my turn
Yeah.
to start. All right.
You're the managing partner. You just tell them to do it, and that's it.
What's interesting, I didn't come to Vanderbilt thinking I was going to be managing partner of anything. It wasn't on my radar screen. I wasn't trying to do it. I go to a firm, a majority firm in Miami, and I moved around a little bit, ended up where I am now. I've been with the firm now almost 30 years. We had one managing partner before me. He is one of the named partners. He's still with the firm. I was elected to become the second managing partner of that law firm. They tell me there was a vote and it was unanimous. I said, that's not true, because if I had been there, I would not have voted for myself. What's fascinating about your question is that you know that sitting in that seat in a firm like that, they're looking at you differently. You're making decisions about how much money they make. You're making decisions about what matters they handle. You're making decisions about what bonuses are given out. You're making decisions about who gets hired, who gets fired. And why should you be making that decision? And yes, again, you have to be proficient in what you do, but not fear. You can't fear doing the right thing. And you can't fear standing up for what is right. I know that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a term that can't be used in certain places. I told my firm when this conversation was taking place that I will believe in DEI until I DIE. That's how we started the conversation, because they're telling me we can't do this, we can't do that. I said, who said we can't do this and we can't do that? We're going to make sure that there's equitable opportunity for everyone to work at our firm, to succeed. And when you're in those positions, you have to not be afraid to say that. When you're the only person in the room who looks like you. Because sometimes people are, you get into these roles and you find yourself shrinking instead of growing. And I would say that it's very intentional. I had to be very intentional about not shrinking in those positions. You have to be smart and understand what's going on in the world too. But you have to be very intentional about not shrinking in the moment. So it has been difficult. I'm going to share one more story in answer to your prior question, because you really, I didn't touch on the part of the challenges that you have when you became a lawyer as compared to the challenges you were having in law school. It's a funny story to me, and actually it's sad but funny. I was doing real estate transactional work as an associate right out of law school, and we were in a closing. I had been handling a lot of the negotiation of whatever the deal documents were, and at that time, again, before email and before those things that you all now do, we actually bought paper. I don't know if you've seen that before, the 8.5 by 11.
I've seen today. I bought paper too.
You got paper, yeah. We bought paper into a room. That's right.
Yeah, a real legal pad.
Right. And people actually had a pen to sign their name on these documents. I brought the documents in, had been communicating with the person over the phone, and the partner who was working with me steps out of the room, and so the other person in the room asked me, have you ever thought about going to law school? And I said, I did. In fact, I graduated in 1987 from Vanderbilt Law School, having attended Dartmouth College undergraduate. They looked at me, and I don't know whether they expected that I was actually there from the mailroom bringing these documents, having copied them and brought them in. And it's a moment in time where you made the comment about it's the people who gave you a difficult time that also taught you how to react in certain situations. And you can't shrink. You have to be proud of the fact that you're here at Vanderbilt University and that the pioneers did what they did and suffered through all of the challenges they suffered through to put you in a position so that some people may not look at you as being who you are, but you got to be able to respond in a way to let them know you're very comfortable in who you are and what you're doing and why you are there. And I smile when I go home from time to time. I know this is being recorded, so if this gets back to the people at my firm, they'll say, oh, that's what you do. But I smile when I get back at home as I think about some of the conversations I've had and some of the interactions that have occurred with me and them. And I just know exactly how some of them might feel when I'm not in the room. I'll just say it like that.
Well, he covered it all. What was
He
the
did.
question now?
He covered it all. The question was in regards to how did you navigate situations where maybe people didn't want to submit to your authority, or you had a difficult time with subordinates or people you worked with in their reception of you?
And it even carries on to today. The reason you want an experienced doctor is because that doctor's had a lot of surgeries. So the reason you want an experienced lawyer is because we've also had different and a variety of cases to handle things, and I think that all starts in law school and continues. So everyone's different, but I sort of developed, I wouldn't say alternative personalities, but every approach is not for everyone. And part of learning and experience is what approach do I need to use with you? And that takes some reading of the person and understanding what the topic is or what the goal is. But what I try to do is to tailor what my goal is and what I'm trying to do to that person with as much information that I can gather. Sometimes I know the person very well. If it's in the law firm, I know what your likes are, dislikes. I know the words that will get your attention, the ones that you'll go to sleep on. But other times, even now on the bench, part of being a judge is not just applying law to facts, but it's also reading the people who are before me, and that takes some time to develop. What are the cues that let me know that the witness is not quite telling the truth, and there are some cues. Literally, they get a dry mouth. I've seen it there. There's some people have really fast blinking, trying to figure out what am I going to say next. And I won't say I determine the case based on that, but it's those little cues, along with perhaps what the testimony is. Oh, I think you're just making this up as you go, and use that. And that's part of just the process of gaining experience being a lawyer and dealing with different people in different situations.
So one question I had for both of you based off of what you said, Mr. Dotson, was not shrinking. And then Judge Crenshaw, you also talked about how there were people who helped you to endure. What advice do you all have for students today where we are 70 years removed, but our class numbers are not quite that different from your class numbers, who can feel discouraged in this environment and feel discouraged with the time that we're living in? What do you say to them?
Want me to say it?
I do want you to say it.
Unacceptable. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable for the numbers of black students at Vanderbilt University School of Law to be on the decline. Okay? Because there's a few reasons for that, why it's unacceptable. You can't, and the dean's heard me say this, so if he were here, I'd say it with him. And I trust his desire to address it. The discussions about having qualified students who can survive, thrive, and graduate from Vanderbilt is such a false narrative that there's so many qualified and capable students who would benefit from this education, and those who are here would benefit from them being here. I will tell you that my friendships at Vanderbilt cut across classes, genders, race, ethnicities, geographies, and I'm a better person for that level of diversity, of interaction and experience. If we want to have a law school that misses the boat to accurately and fully prepare its students for a world that is diverse, then we will continue this decrease of black students and others here at Vanderbilt. To have 3, then 4 black students, and now I understand 4 in the first year class, is why I went back to your comment about Emmett Till and not Trayvon Martin, or Emmett Till and not George Floyd. The question is, are we going back to where we were? Is this 70 years with a minus in front of it, or are we 70 years of progress? So you asked the question, so I have to answer it, and as candidly as I can, that all of us have a responsibility. I didn't even go to undergraduate school because of a black person bringing the school to my attention. It's a white male who was Jewish, who didn't know me from Adam, who talked to me about going to Dartmouth College, that I pronounced at that time Dartmouth. I didn't even know. I didn't even know. But he saw something in me that led me to that. And I spent a lot of time with a lot of people, not just black students, and not just black lawyers, a lot of lawyers. They benefit from my experience here. So I say to Vanderbilt School of Law that it is critical, it's critical that we find a way without excuses to continue an upward trajectory, because there's no other real path forward. So don't ask me a question you want me to answer.
I love the answer.
Right.
Thank you.
All right.
I can't add anything substantive except to say, make sure that the administration knows it's a priority. And the president of BOSA certainly is in a position to keep that issue on the table.
Okay. Well, thank you both for that amazing reflection about how far we've come and what still remains to be seen. As we look to partner with our institution to continue to navigate this, what advice or suggestions do you have for us, or things that you've seen or that you'd like to see us do different?
Keep looking to your right, and I thought you had a left side too. So I'll go ahead.
I'll take you off the hook now.
Thank you.
The one thing I've noticed for new law graduates entering the profession, because you're in a very safe environment here. I mean, everything's structured, you've got protection, and then when you get out, it's sort of on you to navigate your new situation and new circumstances. And my advice would be, each of you should become the CEO of you. Be your own CEO in every sense of the word. That means get you a board of directors that'll be candid to you, people you trust, people who have experience, have walked down the path you are, or may have insights to that, and create a relationship with them that you can call them for coffee or just call them, say, I have this problem, both professionally and personally. Because just because you're a lawyer with a degree doesn't mean you're not going to have personal challenges that you have to deal with and still be a lawyer and still get your hours in or whatever. The firm certainly cares about your personal problems, but at the end of the day, it is a for-profit operation. And so I would be the CEO of me and make sure that you've put together people that you trust and that you can go to, and then take responsibility for yourself. Take responsibility. And I learned that late. And by that I mean read books on the profession, read books on having a balanced lifestyle, read books about how you can better take care of your work day, and find the ones and put together the equation that works best for you. And I did that. And some things, I said, well, I can't do that, but I was able to cobble together a process that worked for me, that allowed me to have a professional success, personal success, and do it in a way that accomplished what my goals are. You be the CEO of you. What are your goals? What are your goals the first 5 years out of law school? What are the goals 10 years out? What are the goals downstream? And start planning for that now, because you're the person who's ultimately responsible, and get your board to support you, do your homework to do it, and always ask what else is out there that may help me reach what that goal would be. I clerked for a federal judge, and I think anyone who clerks for a federal judge, secretly in your heart, you say, well, I wouldn't mind having that job. But I wouldn't share that out with anyone. You think I'm crazy. They'll say, he's crazy. But yeah, after I clerked, I said, well, if the stars align, have I done the things that might make that happen, if that's a goal of yours? So that's what I would suggest.
And I'm going to now flip the script and put accountability on the table for those of us who have gone through Vanderbilt. So I talked about the role of Vanderbilt and what it should be doing. And I talked about the business of law and understanding the questions you don't even know to ask. The business of law schools, there's revenue that comes in through the tuition, and there's revenue that comes in through those of us who contribute and donate to the law school. One of the ways, and the people sitting in the back to my left have been all over me, they're laughing about contributing to the law school, which I am going to do. We're working through how it needs to be spent. But when you start getting alumni engaged in the place that they went, good things happen to the law school and the law students who are there. And I'm going to say to the law students, hold us accountable in a different way. Get us more engaged. This is great. And I would say the month of March, April, July, well, you're not here in July, but you get my point. Not just February, would be months in which you want to get us engaged. So that we are having conversations with you and sharing and becoming part of your board of directors, your trusted board of directors, in a way that benefits the students and ultimately benefits the law school. I can't tell, last time, they don't know this, but the last time, they're gonna smile because I can see them around looking at me. Last time I was here, I invited 2 or 3 of the graduates of Vanderbilt Law School who went to school with me. So of the 4, 2 of us were sitting here walking the halls of the last Board of Advisors meeting, and we met somebody else, had them come in, who was here in '86 with the person who graduated in '88. And they started asking themselves, we should get more involved. We should get more involved. And the more we as alumni become more engaged and the more we are asked to be more engaged, I think the more the school benefits financially, the more the students benefit by broadening their board of directors, the more people get to see the varied career paths that many of us have taken, the two of us that are sitting here, the two of them that are sitting there, that one can take. So figure out a way to get us more engaged. And I know you've been trying, sign this letter, fill out this form. I want you to get this profile done. I've been getting them. And I have responded to a few of them, said, no, I'm not going to do it this way, I'm going to do it this way. But I see what the priorities are. So find a way to do that, because then you go back to the judge's comment earlier on about finding mentors and people to ask you the question, to have coffee with them. When we're here, ask us, what should I know that I don't already know? I've got this class that I'm taking. How should I prepare that I'm not thinking about how to prepare? Especially the first years. When Walter was here, again, I didn't know what I didn't know. Al, this is how you study for a law school exam. I didn't know. I just figured it was the same way as undergraduate. Didn't know. Hold us accountable for going beyond just the words we say and the emails we send to being more engaged on a more regular basis, because you benefit and the school benefits directly. So I would just add that as we look going forward.
I love that. One of the things you both talked about in the wealth of knowledge you've given us today is the importance of, I'm going to go back and forth. I was going to start with him this time. Okay. You didn't even give me a chance. All right. They don't teach broadcast journalism here.
They don't.
That's not a short course you can take. But given the fact that we've talked about the wealth of knowledge you've given us from mentorship and navigating unwritten rules, and what you just said, Mr. Dotson, about asking what you don't know and seeking to be inquisitive in that way, is there anything else that you have, lessons you wish to impart that you wish you knew as a law student for those of us who are still navigating this? Or even those of us who are about to transition into practice that I wish I knew this earlier?
And I don't know what the environment is here now. I'll get over here a little bit, but not a lot. But take full advantage of the opportunities that are here at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is well connected with alumni, but well connected in many respects. Don't limit yourself. I don't know if you have to sign up to get an interview with somebody, but if you don't get the interview, just call them up separately. You have nothing to lose. But just take advantage of everything that's here with the professors who have a lot of contact. If you're in the job search market, take full advantage if there's a particular area of law that you're interested in. Find a professor who's into that and maybe create your own. At least when I was here, you could do a self-study with a professor and get credit for it. Do that, but just take full advantage. If I had it to do over again, which I could not do over again, but I'm too old for that, I would take advantage of all that Vanderbilt, the buffet of opportunities that Vanderbilt has, both here in the law school and throughout the university. That will serve you well later on.
One thing I would add to that, understanding the business of business. When you are a lawyer, your clients are most like, and more times than not, they're not lawyers. They have other businesses and other interests. And I did not take advantage of the Owen School next door. Didn't take a class. I had one of the persons I brought back to Vandy, who was in law school with me, ended up getting a JD MBA. And in retrospect, I think I would have at least taken a class or two to really understand business a little bit better than I did. Now that I'm running a business, for sure, it would have been helpful. Second, I'll echo the comment about signing up for interviews. Now, I know now that it's the wild, wild west when it comes to getting jobs. There are no more timelines. People can you get a job right from birth. It's kind of crazy the way it works now, and we're struggling through that as a firm and figuring out how to we competitively place ourselves in front of law students. So since it is the wild, wild west, be more creative and more assertive and more intentional about looking for jobs. And again, this is something that you might say, well, Al, I don't know what you're talking about. They go to the career office and they tell us to do A, B, and C, or I'm talking to students who did C, D, and F. What does that mean? When I first started law school, and I only say this in a few forums, I had a job for my first summer simply because of coincidence and me not knowing not to ask for the job when I ran into someone. I ran into a lawyer. I was going to a graduation, asked me, what are you getting ready to do? This is before email and cell phones and iPhones, so you stayed in touch by actually talking to people directly. It was kind of a strange thing. And I told him, he said, well, you got a job your first summer. I said, after we were talking, I said, what? I haven't even started school yet. Now, that's the way it is now today. So this is back in 84. But my point in that is, don't be afraid to ask the question. Look, I'm looking for a job. I'm interested in X. I know that I graduate 2 years from now, or for all of you, you're already in law school, but my second year, grades haven't come out yet, but I need your help in connection with getting a position. And you'd be surprised how often we don't take advantage of the networks we already have. I may get 2, and I'm gonna start to get hundreds of them, but I may get 2 emails every 2 years from someone at Vanderbilt who's in law school looking to work in Miami. Now, I know it's about to change. I know, I can see the faces. But they don't even call me. I'm the managing partner of the major law firm in Miami and all the other managing partners in Miami, and I can put you in touch with whomever it is simply because you've made an outreach to me. That doesn't happen enough. So you have a network as students that you don't necessarily know the value of, and people reach out all the time. And I'll end with this: a young man moved to Miami. Said he emails me and says, I just moved to Miami, been here for a month. It was a black male. Said, I don't really know anyone, and I was reading about you. Do you mind if I have coffee for 10 or 15 minutes? I wrote him back. I said, no, we cannot have coffee. We're going to have lunch, and it's going to be an hour, hour and a half. Why? Because it took courage to do what he did, and I said, okay, well let's go with this. And now, I'm introducing him to people in town. My point is, he just asked. And therefore, so if you don't ask, for sure you're not going to get. And I just offer that to you to be both intentional, creative, and early and often in your request. And it's okay to go through 18 no's or 20 no's to get to the yes that you deserve. And just have that grit as well, and persistence and resilience to make it through that process.
Okay, thank you both so much. So before we close, we did want to open up time for a couple student questions. there's anyone in the room.
Any questions for the judge?
Right, we're not starting with you anymore. Judge Crenshaw, you're first every time. Anyone in? Oh, yes, Ruby.
Hi, I'm Ruby. Nice to meet you. So I'm the Vice President of La Alianza, and I think it's really important to bring forward and provide a space for any individuals of color in this school because there's just not enough of us here. And so in terms of being an ally, right, what would you consider being something that we can do as like, not just the Latino community, but other communities to help support the Black community? Because obviously we see the decline in the numbers as well, and as students of color, we're seeing how that's impacting not just the Black community, but it's gonna impact us as well. And so how can we coalesce and be taken serious by the admin who sometimes kind of ignore these concerns or sometimes superficially addresses them?
That definitely is for the judge.
Oh, I was going to say, we're not looking at you, Judge Crenshaw. Please.
And my answer would be different if we weren't recording. Well, that's a deal. I understand in the past there have been some people have reached out to Black members of the Board of Trust. That's one way to get emphasis to a subject. I think in the past there have been, I think Boston may have done it a couple of years ago, if I'm remembering this right, when there was some concern about admissions, a letter to the dean. And then that was followed up, I was told, with a meeting with the dean. And there was some incremental improvement after all of that, but at least it got the, I said incremental.
We acknowledge that.
At least it got the subject on, attention to the subject. Those are two ideas that quickly come to mind, but at the end of the day, it's probably, and I don't mind saying it's what Al just pointed to, schools react to contributions. And that takes the students bringing forward what the issues are. So when contributions are made, that's part of it. I think that's all I should say.
Do you even know who the contributors are to the law school? No, by name. Have you taken a time to figure out who's investing in law school, to see whether they have an interest in the issue that's aligned with where you want to go? Have you reached out to them and shared your thoughts? Now the people on the left are going to really be upset with me in a moment.
I'm not sure I know who's on the left that we're worried about.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried. Follow the money, is what I'm saying. If you want to have significant impact, sometimes you have to pay to play, and you need to know who's paid to play, see if they'll play the game the way you want it played. So reaching out to the trustees for sure is a part of a strategy. Reaching out to the donors to see how many of them are aligned with your thinking. And you asked the question at the very beginning about allies, what can we do? We should all be allied and aligned over an issue that we're discussing. Because you're right, if it's me today, it could be you tomorrow. We can go back to Vanderbilt being an all-male, it could be an all-male law school. And look at all the women that's sitting around here. We can go in that direction. But that's not where we want to go. So we should all be aligned because we could be the next group that is less included than we are today. When you talked about being an ally, I just wanted to point to that. And when I was here, I think it was a Women's Law Student Association. I think it was WLSA was the acronym. And we came together and talked about quotas and affirmative action. we had a whole panel on that, and I remembered it was actually pretty fascinating. A lot of people came, and we had point counterpoint. It was a Vanderbilt graduate at that time, was part of the Reagan administration, and his name escapes me, who was part of the Civil Rights Department and DOJ, who spoke on one side of the issue, and we brought down a lawyer from DC, black female, who spoke on the other side of the issue. And having that dialogue in a way that was respectful, it really helped move some of the thinking, even within the law school, around those issues. So having these kind of discussions and bringing others into it, and having a debate in front of the law school may help some of it as well. So I want to give you a few ideas. All right.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Dotson and Judge Crenshaw. I just want to say on behalf of BALSA, we are so thankful that both of you were able to join us today and for all of your wonderful insights and even steps that we can now consider in how we continue to move forward and navigate our journey here at the law school. So please give me or join me in giving them a round of applause for their time today.
Is there any particular reason why you didn't say they should give us a standing ovation?
Well, standing ovation then. And as we stand, let's stand. You deserve it. I love that. I'll take it to you.
Okay.
I've done a lot.
Okay.
And now BALSA members.
I didn't have to ask for that. They stand all the time.
I know, you
they
get it
stand.
all the time.
Doesn't mean anything much to me.
And if BALSA members, if you could come forward very quickly, we're going to just take a group photo. So please come up before you depart.